morning! It's 7:56 on Saturday the 10th of August, and here I am in Anstruther, which is where I walked to the day before yesterday. What a lovely place it is as well. When I arrived here this morning around about sort of 7 o'clock or thereabouts, having driven up from Leven, it was thick fog. Well, fog, mist off the sea, and it's cleared pretty rapidly. And bear in mind that the weekend forecast for rain was torrential rain on Friday and Saturday. Well, we certainly got the torrential rain yesterday morning when I was in Leven, and I opted to stay in Leven because of the running around I was doing, and I knew that there was a signal in Leven occasionally. And would you believe that it was absolutely chucking it down all morning, really torrential rain, heavy wind and everything, and the internet signal was perfect. The rain stopped at midday, the sun came out, and the signal just disappeared. So that was rather frustrating, and I decided to rest up, not panic. I got some videos out, I was watching a few videos and reading a few books and doing all the usual things that you do when you don't have an internet signal. I couldn't get anything on my phone whatsoever. So I thought, well, I can't sit around like this again for another day, because it's boring, it's seriously boring. And so I decided to get a good night's sleep, good early night, which is what I did, and drove up here this morning. Now, to walk from here to St Andrews is about 15 miles, but there's a place between here and there which is only maybe a couple of hours walk at the most, a place called Crail, which is what I'm going to do now. I'm waiting until 8 o'clock, when I'm nearly there actually, because I'm on the car park. There's a parking meter here, and it's for over 4 hours it's only 120, which is great. So if I walk to Crail, I can get a bus back here and then take the van to Crail and then walk on to St Andrews. If I feel that the weather's going to be as predicted, which is rain, then I'm going to get some walking done, even if I get wet on the way back here. So it's very much a case of following the weather by the hour almost, and it's just really frustrating. I was talking to a very nice young lady this morning called Gemma in a cafe, and she was telling me that it's a joke, the internet around here. Everybody complains. So, you know, it just more or less confirms to me that I noticed my camera is steaming up. Wow, that's amazing. It's amazing that everybody says the same thing, and yet it just comes and goes. There's nothing anybody can do about it. So I've steamed up. So I'll cut it short at that, put some money in the parking meter, because it is now 7:59, and then I can start my walk, and I'll continue the story as I go along. Well, I'm just about to leave Anstruther. It's just after 8 o'clock, and I bumped into Claire, who's got this beautiful little dog here.
Buddy?
Who's Buddy, that's Buddy, is it? And he's waiting for you to come and throw some things in. Hiya, Buddy. Hello. So, are you a local person then, Claire?
Well, not really. I'm from Ayrshire on the west coast, and I've never been to this area of Scotland before.
Really?
I'm proud to say I've been in a lot of places in Scotland and England and Wales,
yes.
but never this area of Scotland.
Well,
so
that's
it's
amazing.
beautiful.
It
I never
is.
realised why people keep coming back year after year.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because people were saying to me, oh, it's much nicer on the west coast.
Right.
And I thought, well, what do you mean by much nicer? You know, because every inch of the way from Berwick to here has been absolutely fabulous. I mean, this Fife coastal path is really well defined.
It is.
There's loads of lovely things to see.
Yeah.
Every mile you've got something of real interest.
I think it's the scenery off the coast and the west coast that makes it more beautiful.
Yes.
Because of what you're looking at, all the islands.
Yes, absolutely.
But this is great, and it's drier on the east coast apparently. So
Well, that's incredible, isn't it?
could back up the umbrellas.
Was you here for the rain yesterday?
Oh, to travel in it yesterday.
Didn't it rain?
It couldn't have rained any harder. I've never seen rain like that in a long time. So
Yes.
hopefully there'll be no more of it.
The strange thing is, my system worked in the heavy rain, but as soon as it got bright and sunny again, it just went off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the signal just disappeared.
Oh.
So, you know, and I've been banging on about this to a lot of people, probably fed up of hearing me talking about this. But it is a problem, but I'm getting over it in small doses.
Right.
Like today, I'm going to walk to Crail, see what the weather's like, see what the signal's like, and then I'm going to walk back and get my van, and then take it to Crail, and then go up to St Andrews, so that if the weather does, because it's forecast a bad forecast for today.
Yeah.
But look at it.
Well, I know, and the forecast was bad last week, but it was really just showery.
Yes.
You know, so if you happen to miss it, the weather was fine.
Yes.
So whereas yesterday there was no escaping that bad.
Yes, that's
It was
amazing.
a real storm.
Well, it's been very nice meeting you.
You too.
You've got a card. Send me a
Yes.
message. Keep in touch.
Brilliant, all the very best.
Thank
for
you
your
very
walk.
much.
Bye, Jim.
Bye now. Bye. Off he goes. There he is. He's happy now. Look. Go on, chuck a stone in. Let's see him go. Well, I've reached Kilrenny near Dyke, and this is Alan, who's very kindly given me a tenner towards the fund. Thank you very much indeed, Alan.
You're more than welcome, Jim. It's a very good cause, and I wish you all the success.
Thank you.
And well done.
And are you a local person, Alan?
Well, I'm from Livingston, but I stay here in the caravan,
Yes.
and it's... Oh, I've been here for 30 years on this site.
Really? It's absolutely stunning on this coast, isn't it?
It's absolutely beautiful.
Every inch of the way, it's been great.
Can I take this opportunity to wish your family all the very best, Jim?
Of course, Alan, that's very kind of you, my friend.
Okay, you have a lovely time. Enjoy your walk, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you very much, mate.
Thank you.
And that's the lovely little dog you've got down there.
Oh, little Bailey's super. He's beautiful.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Alan.
Jim, a pleasure.
You're a
Thank
grand
you very
fella.
much.
Nice to speak to you.
Take care, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
All the best, Jim.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. Well, it's 9:15 now, and it's an absolutely glorious morning. Very much the same as it was the other day. All this business about bad weather today looks pretty good to me, but you never know. There's some... The clouds are a little bit indifferent really, but you know, I'm just going to take a chance on this. You can sit around all day with the weather forecast, and because they say it's going to rain and it doesn't rain. It's happened to me so often. I know I'm going to get caught out one of these days pretty badly, but I've got to go for it. I can't sit around. And this is an absolutely glorious morning. I've already been speaking to about half a dozen people, as you've seen. I've already got one or two on camera, lovely people. And Alan, the last guy, gave me a tenner for the absolutely lovely bloke. And it's going great. I'm feeling much happier to actually get out of the van and do some walking. And I've got to make a decision when I get to Crail as to whether I'm going to go back and pick the van up and move up to St Andrews, or whether to just carry on and then get the bus back from St Andrews. I can't make that decision till I get there. I think I'm only maybe about 2 or 3 miles away now, so then I can make another decision on what I'm going to do. am in Crail and I'm just enjoying this wonderful cup of tea, and this is the proprietor, John. So how's it going, John? Has it been a good season up to now?
So far, yes. We're very weather dependent, so
Yes.
one day good, one day bad.
I know.
And that's Scotland for you.
Well, absolutely. It's been a bit of a mess for the last fortnight, really, because the weather forecast has been nothing like the actual what's happened on the day, really.
We get a little microclimate here.
Yes.
So we don't normally get the normal weather that is forecast.
Yes.
But we got it yesterday, unfortunately. They got it right, I'm afraid.
You got the heavy rain.
We got the heavy rain.
Yes.
Yes. But today's looking okay. It's a little bit dry.
Yes.
A little bit of morning har to start with, but I think the sun will come out.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it's fabulous. And this village, have you always lived here, or?
I've been here about 13 years now.
Yes.
I came over from the west coast. Came from Drimmen, which is the east side of Loch Lomond.
Yes.
So
Right.
a wee change.
So after 13 years, do you think you're going to like it then?
I think I'm getting the hang of it now, yes.
Yeah.
It's a lovely place. It's a great way of life up here.
Yes, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And you've got quite a large living in community, if you know what I mean. Are many of the places like holiday homes? Or?
There is, yes. The whole of the East Neuk is very sort of second homers.
Right,
I think there's about 25-30% of the homes here.
really?
And in other villages further down, Ely is more than 50%.
Yes, yeah.
So, and this is,
yeah.
the population doubles almost in the summertime.
I think it's more or less the same right around the coast. Having gone around the British coast,
Yeah,
Cornwall, it's like the places like Salcombe are like 80%.
really, yes.
Yeah, and I called in at the co-op there once to and I said to the people, are you going out of business? There's nothing on the shelves. This is in the winter.
Weekend.
They said this is just for the locals.
Yeah.
And and they were saying there's only 2 pubs open. It's completely decimated the society.
Yes,
and everything.
it changes the whole sort of outlook of the village in the
Yes.
summer times.
Yes.
You can tell by the cars parked in the middle of
Yes.
on the main street.
Yes.
Summer is here.
Yes.
So-
Well, that's interesting.
It's good for us,
Yeah.
we get busy obviously. It's a seasonal cafe. In the
Yes.
winter time it's very, very quiet, but we've got the coastal path that brings people through.
Yes.
So
That is a very important part of it, isn't it?
it is, yes, yes.
I mean, okay, I know there's not many people like me who are doing the whole whack, if you know what I mean, but nevertheless, I've met loads of Americans and loads
Yeah,
of
it's
of
a very
English folk.
popular route. It's not too testing.
No, it
but
isn't.
it's
No.
very interesting. There's lots of
Yes.
little different villages.
Yeah.
Every village has got their own unique character,
That's the thing about
and I like it.
yeah.
That's what's good about it. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, it's not like the bigger walks, like as an example, the Pembrokeshire Coastal Path or the South West Coastal Path, which
Yeah.
is much more rugged.
Yeah. Yeah.
But nevertheless, this for your average walker is great.
It is. Yes.
Your specialist walkers, who like to do these
More of a
big
challenge,
long,
yes.
Yeah, more challenging. Well,
Yeah.
they'd found this maybe just a little bit too light, but I really like it. I think it's great.
Good.
And the
good.
Five Coast people to do a wonderful job of the markings and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
It's
really-
easy to follow.
It is,
Yeah.
and that's a very important point because people don't like getting lost and they like to be shown the way.
Yeah.
If they're at like just for the average walkers, and I say that with all respect, they don't want to be carrying maps and stuff, and so that's why it's good.
It's good. Yes.
Yeah.
And the little villages they're spaced out enough that you don't have to commit to doing the full walk.
No, that's right.
So there's 3-4 miles, then you can have a little rest,
Yes.
stop up the village, have a coffee, and then continue.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, it's good.
Well, thank you for your time.
Not at all.
I'm just going to get 1 or 2 shots of decaf while there's nobody in, if that's okay.
Okay.
And I'll put it on Facebook. It'll be on tomorrow.
Have a look. Enjoy
Nice.
the rest of your journey.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.
Thank
Bye.
You. Thank you.
Yeah, that was one of Crail Harbour, and that's she was a local artist. She's moved down to the borders,
Yes.
but she comes up and stalks me up every now and then. I always say to her, give me local pictures.
Yes.
So I mean that's 2 of hers as well of Crail Harbour, totally different. And that one that we sold, that was a Crail Harbour one as well.
Yes.
But what gets me is that how they capture it differently,
Yes.
how they see it. Their eyes see it differently.
Yes.
If I've got another artist who does Crail Harbour, and they'll take it completely different perspective.
Yes. How would you pronounce it? Crail.
Crail.
Crail. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. It's very interesting.
Apparently, it's one of the third most popular harbours in the world.
Is
Most
it?
photographed.
Really.
There's Sydney, and then it may actually be Crail after that. But anywhere in the world you go, someday will have a picture of Crail Harbour on their wall.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing. Oh well, thank
So
you very
it's
much for your
small.
time on that. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So it's 11:30 now, and I'm back in Anstruther, which is a very nice place to be again. And it's quite interesting where I take advice from local people. It's always a good thing to do and ask questions. And John, the guy who I was talking to in the cafe just before I left Crail, was saying, "What are your plans? Where are you going?" I was saying I'm walking up to St Andrews. I was thinking about it. And first, my biggest consideration was the weather. He said, "I think you'd be pretty safe with the weather." He says, "The only thing that I warn you about," he said, if you're going to St Andrews today, you couldn't have picked a worse place to go, because it's like fair, you know, like a fun fair kind of thing. He says there'll be loads of roads blocked off, cordoned off. He says you won't get parked anywhere. He said, "I think it might be a bad idea." So with that in mind, I've come back here to Anstruther. I'm going to take the van and I'm going to go up to Dundee. And there's another reason I didn't really feel like walking the coastal path this afternoon, because the one from here this morning to Crail was waterlogged in places, which is to be expected after all the rain. So I've put in just a 5-mile walk. What that means is it's 5 miles shorter the next time I do it, when I do it to St Andrews. So in other words, if I did it on Monday, as an example, drive to Crail, walk up the coast, and if the weather changes for the better, it'll be a much better idea. Not going to get stuck in the mud, and I'm not going to get stuck in the traffic. So that's the reasoning. So what I'm going to do now is just jump in the van and drive up to Dundee, and I'll come back here again on either tomorrow or Monday, depending on the weather. Good morning. It's Sunday the 11th of August and it's just after 8:30 and here I am in Dundee. I drove up yesterday, as you saw, for several reasons really, and first of all I'd like to kind of apologise if I've maybe got on your nerves a little bit with all this constant talking about the problems I'm having with the internet. Well, after yesterday's walk from Anstruther to Crail, I had choices to make as to whether I was going to carry on to St Andrews, and because of the weather conditions and the possibility of heavy rain, I decided not to walk up to St Andrews, because apart from the fact that the track was pretty well waterlogged, as you saw in several places, the walk from Crail all the way up to St Andrews is very exposed. It's a 10-mile stretch where there's virtually nothing in between apart from the coastal path. Very few places to stop or shelter or get a cup of tea or anything like that. So I decided my time would be much better spent driving to Dundee. And therefore that means I'm going to miss Crail to St Andrews and St Andrews to Dundee, for a very good reason, which I'll tell you about in a second. The main reason for wanting to very much get to Dundee and sort out this problem with the internet, well, I did that quite successfully. It took me a while to find the EE shop because there are several quite big shopping centres and things like that here in Dundee. It's a magnificent city centre, very lively place, very typically Scottish, I've got to say. And the people also, very friendly people, very helpful. So I got to the E shop and the assistant, who was a very nice guy, knew his stuff, explained the situation to him and asked about the internet signals, etc, etc. And he went into, they've got a workshop there, which is pretty fortunate really, and sat there, waited for about 10 minutes and he came back. Cured, mate, he said. All he'd done is replace the card, simple as that, and it works perfectly now. And so, as you can imagine, having spent the whole week in a pretty nervous frame of mind, unable to find internet, all the frustrations that go along with that, all the running about trying to find masts, it got to me quite badly, to be honest with you. But all of a sudden it just feels as if this guy's put his hand on my forehead and said, "You're cured, mate," because it meant I can watch my football, I can be back in touch with people, I can send messages, I can, you know, it's back to its very best, and it's taken away all the fears that I'd had about going further north and it getting worse. Well, so you can imagine, enough said. One of the problems that came about with loading 2 days of film onto at once, like as an example, it happened with days 479 and 480. And what happens is, obviously, they come onto the system and they come on in an order, and I reckon that a lot of people skipped 479 because they didn't see it onto 480, and therefore the viewing figures suggest that only half the people watched 479 who watched 480 and also the previous episodes. So just check up to make sure that you saw day 479, because, as I say, there's a lot of people missed it, and I want to point that out to you. So there are some other changes to come as well, with a bit of luck. I had a word with a friend last weekend who rang to say hello, and I want to keep his identity a secret actually, but I must tell you he's not English and he's very good at saying "Here we go," and he rang to say, "Jim, I'm going to come up and join you next week or very soon after, so, you know, would I be welcome, and would he be welcome?" What a question. I'm really looking forward to being with people again. I've spent a lot of time on my own recently, and a lot of time stressed, and so this Welshman, who I can't name, if he comes along, it'll be an absolute breath of fresh air. And I've also been speaking with Ray this morning as well, and he's thinking about coming up to do the last leg with me, walking into John O'Groats in a camper van. There is a very nice campsite there, and he'd be very pleased to walk the final stage. Well, of course you're welcome, Ray, and so is anyone else. And I've got a friend called Desmond who's kindly offered to help me out with some of the more difficult logistics, and I will be in touch with him and giving him some details of where I'm going to be and when I'm going to be there, and we can get together. So things are looking an awful lot better from today onwards than they were from last week, as an example, where it did really get to me, and I'm sorry. So, I was given a little bit of bad advice yesterday about the St Andrew's Fair. In actual fact, the guy who told me was a week early. He thought the event was on the 10th, 11th, when in actual fact it was on the 17th, 18th, so I breezed through St Andrew's and I got up here. And I'm staying in exactly the same place as I was last weekend when I was recovering from my groin strain. And it's perfectly okay now, as you've seen. I walked a 20-mile day the other day. It was only a 5-mile day yesterday, but I've still got to be careful. I don't want to push it too hard, so you'll see why. Again, it was a good idea to skip those, because that means that Ralph and I can meet in Crail, we can walk up, the logistics will be dead easy with 2 vehicles, and so it all makes sense. So what that means now is I'm going to be walking north from Dundee, and I'm going to be walking later this morning to a place which is famous for the golf, Carnoustie. And I've got a choice. I can get a train back or I can get a bus back, and I've still got to work that out yet. It's going to be an afternoon walk. The weather now is just absolutely dead still, blanket of quite heavy cloud. Not sure if we're going to see the sun at all, so the pictures might be a little bit dull and grey, but nevertheless the pictures, and it's part of the walk, and I can't wait for a sunny day. I've got to get on with it. And the other pleasing factor is, from what I've seen, quite a lot of it is going to be road walking rather than walking on a muddy coastal path. I'm sure there will be some coastal path, but not as much as I would have had I have walked from Crail to St Andrews, so that's the reason. So as I say, I'm feeling pretty well elated now. There's nothing else on my list other than to say thanks to all you new viewers who have come along in huge numbers and certainly boosted the figures, and thank you for that. And thanks also to all my well-established regular people who've been watching me right from day one, who are still there sending me messages day after day, having watched 480 films. What can I say? It's absolutely fantastic, and it's lovely to hear from you people. And I've met some wonderful people recently over the last few days, because I'm amongst people now. I've been feeling a bit lonely, if I'm to be honest, and that's bound to happen. I haven't been out for a beer for a long time. I've just got into this kind of institutionalised kind of way of life at the moment, where I'm more or less doing the same things every day and all the rest of it. But today I do feel so much better and so much happier. So I'm going to get on now, get this mailed off to YouTube, and I'll be starting the walk probably in the next couple of hours. And I hope you enjoy today's walk as well, and I'll probably get that mailed on tonight. Now I've got my new system, everything's back to normal, which I'm delighted about. So, thank you very much for everybody. Thank you.